It was a crisp fall evening when I pulled into my driveway, the glow of our newly renovated home welcoming me after a long day. My husband, David, and I had spent years saving for this Placia, charming two-story in a cozy suburban neighborhood with tidy lawns and friendly faces. The crown jewel was our backyard, a serene retreat we'd transformed with a custom-built pergola, a small garden, and a sleek outdoor kitchen for hosting barbecues. We'd poured our hearts and thousands of dollars into making it our own, a space to unwind and entertain. The neighborhood was governed by a small HOA, with rules about grass height and holiday decoration standard stuff we'd carefully reviewed before buying. Everything seemed perfect until our neighbor, Susan, decided our backyard was her personal playground. Susan, a woman in her late 40s with a penchant for designer sunglasses and a loud voice, lived next door. She was the self-appointed queen of the block, always hosting loud parties and dropping by uninvited to check in. At first, we chalked it up to her being overly friendly. But a month after we moved in, things took a turn. I was grilling steaks for a quiet dinner with David when Susan appeared at our fence, peering over with a smug grin. "That's a gorgeous setup," she said, eyeing our pergola. "The neighborhood's lucky to have it. I'm hosting a book club tomorrow. Mind if we use your backyard? It's way better than mine." Her tone wasn't asking, it was assuming. Stunned, I politely explained we weren't comfortable with that, as it was our private space. Her smile vanished, replaced by a huff. "It's just one afternoon," she snapped. "Don't be selfish, community spirit, you know?" I held firm, and she stormed off, muttering about unneighborly newcomers. I figured she'd let it go, but Susan wasn't one to back down. The next weekend, we planned a small gathering with friends to show off our backyard. The grill was sizzling, music played softly, and laughter filled the air. Then, I noticed movement at the gate. Susan, her husband, Greg, and 3 of their friends, all carrying wine glasses and folding chairs, were trying to unlock our gate. Greg waved casually, saying, "Susan said your yard's open for community events today." My blood boiled. I marched over, explaining this was a private party on private property. Susan rolled her eyes, claiming the previous owners had let neighbors use the yard all the time, and that we were violating some unspoken neighborhood code. Her friends chimed in, accusing us of hoarding our space. Our guests shifted uncomfortably as the confrontation grew heated, Susan's voice rising to a screech about entitled newbies. The situation exploded when Susan pulled out her phone, dramatically dialing the HOA president, Karen, and putting her on speaker. She claimed we were breaching HOA rules by restricting community access to our backyard. Karen, sounding annoyed, arrived minutes later. Susan launched into a tirade, insisting our pergola and kitchen were neighborhood assets because they enhanced property values. I was floored. The HOA bylaws, which I'd memorized, mentioned nothing about private yards being shared. I invited Karen to review the documents, but Susan interrupted, demanding Karen fine us for anti-community behavior. Karen, clearly skeptical, asked for proof of this so-called community access rule. Susan stammered, producing nothing but vague anecdotes about past neighbors. Karen, unimpressed, told Susan to leave our property. Defeated but furious, Susan and her entourage retreated, but not before she hissed, "This isn't over." It wasn't. Days later, we woke to find our backyard gate jimmied open and our outdoor kitchen trashed, grill grates tossed into the grass, cushions ripped, and plants uprooted. A neighbor's security camera caught Susan sneaking into our yard at midnight, clearly retaliating. Furious but strategic, I gathered evidence. The footage, photos of the damage, and a copy of the HOA bylaws explicitly stating that yards were private property. I also printed an email from our realtor confirming no shared use agreements existed. Armed with this, I filed a formal complaint with the HOA board and reported the vandalism to the police. The fallout was swift and satisfying. The police visited Susan, who denied everything until shown the footage. She was charged with trespassing and vandalism, facing fines and a court date. The HOA board, horrified by her actions, issued a formal reprimand and banned her from hosting neighborhood events for a year, citing abuse of community trust. Word spread fast, and Susan's social status crumbled. Neighbors who once flocked to her parties now avoided her, whispering about her entitled meltdown. Her house went up for sale shortly after, but buyers balked after hearing about the incident. Turns out, nobody wants a neighbor who trashes private property. 6 months later, Susan sold at a loss and moved away, her reputation in tatters. A young couple bought her house, polite and eager to respect boundaries. We invited them over for a barbecue, and they marveled at our backyard, grateful for the invite rather than assuming access. The HOA updated its rules to clarify property rights, thanks to my input on a new oversight committee. As I sip coffee under our pergola now, I think of Susan's audacious power grab and how her own arrogance brought her down. She tried to claim what was ours and lost her standing in the community she thought she ruled. The lesson? Know your rights, document everything, and don't let entitled bullies push you around. Justice has a way of catching up, and when it does, it's sweeter than any backyard barbecue.